So Max Bird then, third place in the championship coming into tonight. Jack, I think you've just been checking up on the updated points after race 1, and it's tight, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't try and do these calculations very often, but they're quite easy tonight. 6 points separate third, fourth, and fifth. That's Max Bird, Elliot Daltonez, and Joel Lask. 6 points. So we can see them change around at the end of this. Well, Scott Bugner's 30 points ahead in the lead of the championship. Max Edmondson, no, he's under threat from Max Bird in third. 11 points the difference between second and third at the moment.
Yeah, so exactly. That's kind of the point, isn't it? Second down to fifth position is, what, 17 points or so? Yep. And that is next to nothing, given how many points are still on offer. Race number 2 about to get underway then. John Jones and Brad Smith, row 1. Keep an eye to the yellow and black car of Nicky Taylor starting third. Lights go out. Away they go. Good start made by Brad Smith by the looks of it from the outside of row 1. And he will try and get that lead as they head towards Clervaux Corner for the first time. John Jones stubbornly hanging on that inside line, though. We wait for them to turn into the first corner, and it is Smith that leads the way. It's Taylor second. Jones out wide. There's contact further back. I think that was Josh Martin. That sends people scattering 3-4 wide. There's absolute carnage through Hawthorne Corner, and that surely is going to have collected some of the championship contenders. Is gaining ground, but Edmondson, Max Edmondson, is in the pits with damage. Would you believe it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Edmondson actually started in the pits. He was very quick to come out after that contact. So that is a massive drama right in the front. I wouldn't be surprised if the safety car was called out. But Andy Carroll getting ahead of Carl Felvers. Brad Smith still leads the way. Who else was involved? Elliot Daltonez has dropped down into 16th position. I believe Eric Axel. So there's more contact in the front. I was looking at my timing screen. Massive contact out of Tower Bend.
Andy Carroll involved. I think that might have been Dave Buki and Reese Bell on the grass as well. This is kind of what we feared. It's just a narrow, tight circuit, but actually quite high speed in areas. And so when you get this big difference in speed between the quick guys at the back and some of the slower guys at the front, this is the kind of stuff you can see happening. Brad Smith leads the way. Nicky Taylor going after him second. Mark Hughes in a really impressive third place at the moment from Max Bird in fourth. That's a really good drive, that, from Max Bird, from 15th on the grid to fourth already. So he picked his way through that carnage really well, and he, of the front runners in the championship, the one looking strongest at the end of lap 1.
Yep, he's doing very well, as I believe that's Dorman going through on Felvers. I'm not sure. I think Carroll and Felvers are actually battling, aren't they, coming out of the final corner. Brad Smith still leading the way is very impressive indeed. But Nicky Taylor, he's got his eyes on a race victory here. It didn't go his way in race number 1 for one reason or another. As I said, the stewards will decide what happens to him after that one. All he can focus on is trying to do well in this particular race. And at the moment, he's doing very well. But so is Brad Smith. They're pulling away from Mark Hughes, who, like you said, has had an absolutely brilliant race start himself. He's got a good gap between himself and Max Bird, then Josh Martin and Eric Axelson. A few of the sort of protagonists from race 1 are a lot further down the order, thanks to a lot of contact, obviously. Elliot Daltonez still in 15th position. Max Edmondson down in 17th. Now, it's important, if Max Edmondson was involved in that contact at the beginning, if he jumped to the pit and then went back out, well, that's not allowed in VRRC. If you jump back to the pit in any session, you are disqualified from that session. So they might have to be having a word as going through, study in, study out, and it's Nicky Taylor trying to go through on Brad Smith. He managed to get the car stopped very impressively through sunny in, and has actually got the apex through sunny out as well. So I think Nicky Taylor may well have been released now. As Brad Smith, though, looks at the inside, tries to prove me wrong, going into the complex. There's going to be a little bit of contact, little bit, but not too much, luckily. Going into the double right-hander, it's still Nicky Taylor on the inside, but Smith is doing everything he can to try and hold on to this race lead.
Yeah, brilliant racing this, actually. 2 big lunges there, one from Taylor at Sunny and one from Brad into the complex, and it's Brad who comes out of it all with the lead again. So Brad Smith leads across the line. Nicky Taylor tucked right in the slipstream, though. Couldn't be closer to the number 26 car as it makes its way down towards Clervaux Corner from the outside to the inside. Beautiful driving that from Taylor. Really sold Brad Smith the dummy, and now it's Taylor back to the lead. The third lead change in half a lap, that was, but now I reckon the HFT Racing driver might be able to get his head down here through Hawthorne into the chicane, and already look, the yellow and black car starting to scoot away slightly from Smith in second place. Smith has realistically one more chance here, getting the slipstream down the straight. You can see Nicky Taylor weaving from side to side to try and prevent that from happening. Can Brad have a go under braking into Tower? You're on board with the second place man, closes in under braking, but just misses the apex, and that now might be the last that he sees of Nicky Taylor.
Yeah, you get the impression that the bottle has been uncorked somewhat for Nicky Taylor, don't you? Because he was absolutely flying all over the back of Brad Smith. He's clearly got good pace. He's happy with the car now, hopefully, and he can really just push forward. He's got 15 minutes, obviously, to lead this race, but more importantly, the drivers who are probably going to threaten him most are the likes of Max Bird, currently in 4th position. Brad Smith goes very wide halfway through the Sunny Complex. But Max Bird is a good 2.5 seconds back, although he might be slightly closer now as Mark Hughes runs very wide.
Yes, he does. Max Bird then looking to take that 3rd place away. Is he going to be able to turn in? Well, sort of. Takes a wide line through the complex to avoid Hughes, but Bird does go through. So from 15th on the grid to 3rd for Bird. Inside the first 5 minutes, Bird is flying through the field. Dorman there trying to get to the outside of Hughes. There's contact. Couldn't quite tell whether that was Hughes or Axelson who got into Josh Martin there, but Martin gets a little bit sideways and manages to hang on around the outside. That gives him the inside, of course, for the run into Clairvaux. He's not going to try and get back up the inside of Hughes, is he? He's certainly looking. He's there almost. Hughes wants to turn in. There's inevitable contact. And actually Hughes, no, doesn't have the big save. He's off exit stage right. And poor old Mark Hughes will rejoin right at the back of that group.
I think he did do the save, actually, and then got a second instalment of speed up the rear end, shall we call it, which is a real shame, because he was running really well in 3rd position, and he had no one has any right to disrupt his flow, really, unless, obviously, they're a back marker, and he wasn't. He was there on valid reasons, so yeah, a bit of a shame there for Mark. Scott Bugner is another driver we need to keep an eye out on, obviously from race 1, 2nd position. He's currently in 11th place, not far away from this battle, but not close enough to be considered in it, you would argue. This is now actually the battle for 3rd position now, isn't it, with Max Bird, it's 4th, with Josh Martin, Eric Axelson, Andy Carroll, and Joel Lask all involved.
Yes, they are. Through Sunny they head then, and this is a really close battle then for 4th position. It's allowing Max Bird to shoot away up the field. Now, Bird can definitely catch Brad Smith. Whether he can catch the leader, I'm not so sure. Axelson to the inside of Martin. They do just make me pause for a second when they make that lunge at the inside into the complex. Looks for all the world like they're going to make contact, but Axelson just managed to avoid making it there. Into the hairpin they all go. Lots of different lines taken, and there is now contact, but it's actually Axelson tabbed sideways. Sideways as well was Andy Carroll, but he almost converts that into a move. Pulls up alongside Joel Lask as they head down towards Clairvaux corner. Joel Lask now finds himself on the outside line. Kyle Felvers trying to join in as well. How's this all going to sort out? Axelson turns in. Carroll next. Last round the outside of Kyle Felvers and stays in 7th place. Now, Scott Bugner is not making the progress I expected him to here. I wonder if that car's got a bit of damage, because the championship leader only in 11th place at the moment, and you'd think with all of this fighting going on up the road, he'd be able to catch them, but so far, not the case.
Yeah, I said that he's probably within touching distance of this battle, but I was absolutely wrong. He's 5 seconds away from Kenny Press. As that Joel Lask going up the inside of Andy Carroll as we ride on board with Carl Felvers, who one of the best seats in the house, who I believe gets a little bit of contact from behind him. No, actually, just a little bit of inertia through the front wheel, unfortunately for him, so he couldn't quite get the cut back, but he is watching Joel Lask, who seems to have successfully got that place on Andy Carroll. Andy going into the Sunny Complex, looking up the inside, trying to fill the mirrors. It's going to be a difficult move, though, as they hit the brakes. He doesn't quite go for it. Probably sensible, I would say, that one, Andy, from Andy Carroll. Just trying to sort of establish themselves in this battle. There's always other opportunities to go for those race moves. He doesn't need to rush it.
No, he does not at all. Andy Carroll has had a steadily decent season, actually. Twice he's been on the podium, Andy Carroll. Now, yes, it's both been in reverse grid races. Whoops, that is Scott Bugner just surviving, I think. Another tangle there between John Jones and Andy Dorman. Dorman's had a real night to forget, hasn't he? But that happened somewhere in and around where Bugner was, because Bugner was 11th, so he did lose out in that then. So the points leader having a really disastrous race, and that unfortunately makes what happened to Edmondson at the start of the race even more unfortunate, because he could have, and arguably should have, been taking big points out of Bugner here, but Bugner now able to rely on that big championship lead that he's built up, and he should still come out of this race, even if he non-finished, with a decent championship lead. Bugner 13th then, and lucky again to survive another moment.
I was going to say, he must have been involved because, of course, Elliot Dalton has got past him now as Max Bird looks to get past. Brad Smith, I was going to call him Ben Smith for some unknown reason. We're going through Tower Bend. A Bird does get through, so Bird is the biggest scorer of the points in terms of championship standings that we've been talking about all evening long. Joel Last currently in 6th position. He's currently in 5th position in the championship. So again, he's scoring some half-decent points against the likes of Max Edmondson and Max Bird. Sorry, not Max Bird. Elliot Dalton-Ez. So this is good at all change, isn't it? Croft is certainly proving what we were saying at the beginning, Andy, in that it's a very difficult track, it's very complex, and it's not easy to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. As you saw there in the battle between Max Bird and Brad Smith in the second place, that little bit of contact they made at Tower Corner, you know, it was an aggressive move from Bird, and it had to be. It's the only way he was going to get through. Now, is Andy Carroll setting up for an aggressive move here on Kyle Felvers? Not into the hairpin, he is not. Reese Bell, by the way, ahead of Scott Buckner now. So Buckner 14th place, and Buckner's car must have a little bit, well, maybe more than a little bit of damage to be fading down the order like this. Let's have a look. And look who is on his tail. Max Edmondson. That's not Buckner pulling out of his way, is it? Surely not. Buckner mirror signal maneuver. Gets out of the way of Max Edmondson. He will allow his championship rival through because he knows he doesn't have to beat him in this race. He can afford to just tag along with Edmondson. And also, there is this potential penalty looming over Edmondson if he did fast track back to the pit lane and then rejoin. So absolutely no point getting involved in that fight if you're Buckner.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows, like you mentioned, that Edmondson may well have a penalty, but more to the point, I think, because Buckner might not know that Edmondson has that looming over his head. Look at his wheel. It's slightly off. He's actually crabbing ever so slightly. Now, that could be really dangerous, and probably the reason why he's let Edmondson through, and probably everybody else as well, is the fact that if he causes an accident, he'll be punished a lot more than if he just finishes in 15th place and quietly goes about his business. If he ends up with a disqualification or something, he won't score any points, whereas if he's 15th, I believe he still scores a small amount of points, in fact 6 points, so it's still not the end of the world, whereas if he got disqualified or got punished for causing an incident, he would lose all of that. So good driving by Scott Buckner, and fair driving, good sportsmanship and all.
Yeah, absolutely, and sensible stuff. Champions drive that. Now, that's less sensible. That was Josh Martin into the left rear corner of Brad Smith's car. I do not envy the position that Brad Smith finds himself in now, because he's been quietly minding his own business in the podium positions. Briefly led the race earlier on, of course, had that good battle with Taylor, decent battle with Max Bird as well, and now he's got a whole queue of and hungry drivers lining up behind him. Josh Martin is the Motorspawn liveried car directly behind him, then the green machine of Eric Axelson, the black, pink and green of Joel Lask in 6th position. Kyle Felvers and Andy Carroll aren't far back either, and they're going to go side by side through the chicane. That is not a good place to go wheel to wheel, and in fairness there to Brad Smith, stands his ground well, hangs on to the place, and now Eric Axelson tries to join in the fun on the outside line.
I don't know how they did that, because to be honest, I crashed. Oh no, there's a big lunge, that one, isn't it? Is that Josh Martin going through Brad Smith? He's had enough, as Axelson gets a big hit from the side as well from Joel Lask. So it's all kicking off a little bit here, isn't it, Andy? It's getting a little bit feisty in the last 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's one word for it. That was a real aggressive move, that from Martin on the inside. He gets 3rd place, but I think Smith may try and retaliate here. He does, goes up the inside into Sonny. Wait for it. No contact, amazingly. And Smith goes through. There is contact further, but Axelson turns Joel Lask. Oh, Joel Lask off onto the grass. He's going to be joined right in front of Axelson, who, if he's sensible, will not take that place away from him, because that certainly looked like a little bit of avoidable contact. Axelson actually dropping more places. Look, that's Kenny Press going up the inside of Mark Hughes into 7th position. But moving on from that, what a brilliant move that was from Brad Smith to get back up the inside of Josh Martin and back into this podium place. Great stuff. Martin losing out now to Felvers as Joel Lask is sideways again.
Yep, I think Kenny Press was involved in that one, and almost pretty much instantly afterwards turned Eric Axelson round. Yeah, it's a shame we have to unpack everything that just happened in that previous lap to find the sort of one good, clean overtaking manoeuvre. But it is what's happened, as in front of our eyes, we see Carl Felvers getting into the back of Brad Smith, opening the door up for Josh Martin and himself to go through. It's getting a little bit difficult, and these reverse grids are prone to this slightly, aren't they, Andy? Where, especially full reverse grids, where you have very quick drivers coming through on a very narrow circuit, and slightly out of position drivers going backwards by the looks of it, as Carl Felvers gets lunged by Brad Smith, who clearly wasn't having any of it, and they make contact, and Carl Felvers' car gets very sideways. He's going to manage to hold it. I'll tell you what, that's fairly impressive, actually. He hasn't lost that many positions. Only Andy Carroll's gotten through. He won't be happy about it, but the important thing is he did survive that, which at one point I didn't think he would.
Yes, Croft known for its history in rallycross racing, of course. I think Carl Felvers thought perhaps he was contesting a round of the British Rallycross Championship there, completely sideways, all over the grass, bouncing into the air, and somehow managed to save it. You'll hear us motorsport commentators talk often about red mist. If you've ever wondered what the red mist is, well, you're seeing it here in this battle. This is a group of drivers, particularly in this fight for third place on back, who are not happy with each other. Someone roughs someone up, so then the driver that gets roughed up thinks, right, I'll give you a taste of your own medicine. Then he gets the place back. Then, of course, the person that initially made the move feels hard done by again, and it all just starts to escalate. And it's just these tiny little taps that can unsettle a car, get someone sideways, and it's so tempting to do, especially when you're in a tin top series like this one, just to use the bumper to aggravate the driver ahead, to get your own back on the driver ahead. It's all calmed down for the time being, and I hope it stays that way for the remaining 5 minutes. Dave Buki and Reece Bell back together. I fear here, Jack, that I'm going to instantly regret it saying that it's going to calm down, because these two, remember, tangled in the previous race, and they're after each other again.
Yeah, it looks like that one. Dave Buki with his front end hanging off, and Reece Bell with his rear end hanging off. And I'm not saying that it was both of those drivers, as Reece Bell goes straight on after a little bit of bump and contact there from the two of them, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, to be honest, it's better that Reece Bell does that, because two drivers don't really go through that chicane quite right, do they? As Dave Buki goes towards the aim, I genuinely thought he was just aiming at that point, but luckily it does make the corner. You're absolutely right about the red mist, though, isn't it? About that sort of this battle that we're currently watching. It's almost like the personification of a Twitter conversation, isn't it? When something says someone slightly wrong, someone says something slightly wrong or something, then somebody gets more irate about it, and more irate, and all of a sudden it's trending, and everything's blown up in their faces. And that's exactly sort of what we're seeing with this battle potentially. Luckily, they seem to have gapped each other somewhat. Nicky Taylor in the lead by nearly 6 seconds, 5.5 seconds to Max Bird, who's in second by 5.5 seconds roughly to Josh Martin, who's got about 1.5 seconds to Brad Smith. And then that's the battle you're watching right now, is Andy Carroll trying to chase down Brad Smith, and then Carl Felvers about 1.5 seconds behind. So with 3.5 minutes to go, I thought Andy Carroll was going to prove me wrong, but they seem to have sorted themselves out as Brad Smith loses it. Now, we were on board with Andy Carroll. It didn't look like there was any major contact. I didn't hear anything, but to be fair, I don't have the sound of the cars in my earphones. So I hope there wasn't any contact, but it's gutting to see Brad Smith, who for the most part had driven pretty well, ends up falling off the road.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure there was no contact. If there was, it was on the way into Clairvaux, and that was long before Smith got sideways. That's a shame that after Smith's fighting drive to try and stay inside that top 5 or so, unfortunately, all starts to unravel, and, well, poor old Brad Smith will rejoin the track down in 10th place, interestingly, just 1 place ahead of Max Edmondson, who's gained a few more positions now since we last saw him. Yes, Elliot Dalton-Ayres into the back of Dave Buki. I shall tell you what I'm seeing happening. I'm not going to go any further than that. Dave Buki with a bit of stunt driving there as he reverses back into the track at Tower Corner. Paul Swift would have been pretty proud of that little J-turn, I think. Right, let's get back to some clean racing, he says, hopefully. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, and Eric Atkinson on the tail of Joel Lask here, with Mark Hughes ahead. Now, there are a few drivers here, Jack, having the race of their season, really. Andy Carroll in 4th place, on merit as well. He didn't really start all that high on the grid, but he's up there in 4th position. And Mark Hughes, having lost ground initially, now picking his way back through into 6th position. Can he hang on for the last 2 laps?
Tell you what, you can tell that you're the experienced commentator. Let's pull the positives out of this one, shall we? And you're absolutely right to do so, because Mark Hughes, who did end up falling really far down, you're absolutely right. It's picking his way back up. He's trying to be as consistent as possible. Probably knows full well that he's not as quick as the drivers who are currently chasing him down, i.e. the likes of Joel Lask and Eric Axelson. But to be fair, I don't remember him doing anything malicious or sort of untrustworthy, shall we say. As they're going towards Tower Bend, he may well lose a position, but he's defending hard, he's defending fair. As he hits the braking zone, he gets absolutely sent off to the apex, and he comes back across the track and ends up grass cutting in the local field.
Right, okay. Mark Hughes rejoins now. Outside of the top 10, is he going to be? Yes, I think he will be, because Max Edmondson. Edmondson's going to end up with a top 6 here before the end of the race, the way this is going. It might not stand if he does get this penalty for refreshing back to the pit lane, but he's into 10th place and not a million miles behind that group of cars fighting up the road. I'm worried, I'm scared to draw attention to anyone now, because every time we do, we seem to cut to them pointing the wrong way and heading towards a field somewhere. So let's see if we can get through this final lap without any more major dramas. Side by side into the complex here. Joel Lask is 7th. Kenny Press is in 8th place. Now, Kenny, we haven't seen up to too many shenanigans yet in this race. He's got a lap and a bit left to try and get 7th place away from Joel Lask. Joel will not be happy with this. This was another opportunity for him to try and really get some points back on those ahead of him in the championship. And 7th place, not really the result he would have hoped for.
No, and I mean, you just mentioned Kenny Press there on our screens being not that involved. Yeah, he only half turned around Josh Martin and almost turned around Eric Axelson. And in the grand scheme of this race, that's pretty clean, I think. So, yeah, it's fair play to him. But Joel Lask, I mean, it's a bit of an average day for him, isn't it, I think, Joel? Obviously, Silverstone was a bit of a highlight of his season. He is very fast in these front-wheel drive machines, but and he isn't sort of getting involved too much in all the paraphernalia around him, as Dave Buki is trying to go home, by the looks of it.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, at this rate, yeah, no. But this driver has actually ignored it all, really, hasn't he, Nicky Taylor? As soon as he got into the race lead, he's driven away with no questions asked, as he gives a little bit of a wave to Dave Buki through sunny out. And he's survived all of it. He probably doesn't even know most of what's going on this race. He doesn't know all the drama that he's avoided, because he's been in the race lead and he's been brilliant.
Yeah, sometimes drivers complain that they don't get enough TV time when they're winning races by 7 seconds. But believe me, Nicky, when you watch this race back, you'll be glad that we didn't see much of you, because it means that you avoided the worst of the trouble. Had a brilliant battle, of course, earlier on to get the lead away from Brad Smith. And Nicky Taylor is going to get his first victory in the VRRC Civic Cup, and he gets it in dominant fashion. Dave Buki celebrates 16th, whilst Max Bird comes home in 2nd position, Josh Martin in 3rd, and Andy Carroll in 4th position. That's a really good drive, that, from Andy. Kyle Felvers in 5th position, Axelson 6th, and Joel Lask will fend off Kenny Press for 7th position, now behind Brad Smith and Max Edmondson in a drag race to the line. Edmondson 9th on the road. Put a little question mark next to that, because we need to get to the bottom of exactly what happened to him at the start of the race. But if he does get to keep that 9th place, it could be big for the championship, because the championship leader, Scott Buckner, has not yet got to the finish line. He will cross that line in a lowly 15th place. The first time all season, Jack, that Buckner has been out of the top 5.
Yeah, it's. I mean, he has still got the championship lead as far as we're aware, so I'm sure he won't mind too much. But he would have liked to have done the clean sweep for the championship. Of course, we will end up having a chat to our podium drivers. Also, we've sort of got to do driver of the round, which is going to be, I think, slightly difficult, this one, because Nicky Taylor, although drove brilliantly in race 2, has, let's face it, an asterisk to a question mark in race 1, and all this, that, and the other. So whilst you chat to our race winner, Nicky Taylor, Andy, maybe we'll have a chat in the Discord between the admins and see who maybe drums up ideas for driver of the round.
Yeah, don't ask me. I haven't got a clue. I couldn't tell you half the things that happened in that race. What I can tell you is that Nicky Taylor has got his first victory of the season, and he joins us now in the commentary box. Nicky, I was saying on that final lap that was about all we'd seen of you, really, since you got the race lead. Believe me, that's not a bad thing, because it means you weren't involved in everything happening behind you. A brilliant drive, though. You started towards the front of the grid and absolutely made the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, race 1 went great. Had a little contact with Josh Martin, but he was fine with it. And yeah, I couldn't have done much, and then let off for him. And then Dave Buki into the fast right-hander. I won't put any blame towards that, because I don't want to start an argument on live. But yeah, anyway, best way to do it. Last race I'm doing of the season and won it, so go out with a bang. And yeah, can't do Donington because I'm at college, but yeah, finally got the hang of the car.
So you've got an actual excuse for not racing at Donington then. You're not off on another holiday somewhere then. I'll let you off for that. Been great to have you around here in the Civic Cup. It's a shame we didn't have you all season because it's clearly a car you get on with well.
No. I dislike this mob with a passion. I'm normally, it should suit me to the ground with being front wheel drive, and I drive minis in real life, so this should basically suit me to the T, but I don't gel with the mod because it doesn't drive like how I would think, and I just don't like the mod, but it is what it is. I got through and yeah, just got on with it and got my head down, and I think it pays dividend that I love Croft with a passion, and yeah, just got through on Croft and just done my thing.
So Croft is a circuit you get on with then in real life. What is it about Croft that you enjoy?
It's basically like a massive kart circuit, and someone coming from karting and doing like British level in karting, it's quite fun. And yeah, I don't know why it is, because it's 5 hours away from me, so I shouldn't be that inclined to it. But yeah, I just love the circuit. It flows with my driving style. So yeah, Elliot was just rapid in quality and everything. So yeah, but consistently doing 35 in the race was, I think, quick enough, and just tried to maintain the gap to Max, and yeah, just break away.
Well, it was a brilliant performance, a brilliant battle. We really enjoyed that fight that you had in the early part of the race for the race lead. Congratulations on that victory, and we'll see you again next season, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, should be doing touring car, or whatever it is. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Nicky Taylor then gets that first victory and bows out of the VRRC Civic Cup with style. He's the race winner, but Jack is with our runner-up.
I should be, if I unmuted my mic, that would be. Yeah, we've got Max Bird in the chat for the second time tonight. Max, a fairly happy, all in all, a fairly happy evening, I imagine, for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was up to P4 by the end of the first lap, so yeah, it was great racing, and obviously Nicky had a bit more pace than me in that one. As I said before, I was still sort of struggling with the tyres, trying to work out what tyre pressures worked for me, but all in all, yeah, good.
How difficult was it, that opening lap, though? Because it was a bit of survival, wasn't it, really? Was it luck? Was it car placement? Could you see what was happening in front of you and what might transpire? Because a few of your championship rivals didn't get so lucky and didn't quite catch it early enough either, and that's why they've fallen well down the order. Was it as stressful as it looked on stream?
Yeah, for sure. I think I just took advantage of the other guys and where they were going. I'm pretty lucky, to be fair, out of tower. I think there was some contact with some other drivers and cars coming off across the front of me, but I managed to keep out of it and yeah, score some good points.
Fantastic. Well, what I can say about your point situation as well is that we went into this round and there was a two-way battle for the championship lead, and there was a three-way battle for third position. But you've absolutely blown that out of the water now. Matt, you are now 2 points behind Max Edmondson in second place. Are you dying to get your hands on that SimRace 3 rig?
Yeah, for sure. I like Donington Park as well in real life and on the Sims, so we'll be winning there hopefully.
Fingers crossed for you, and well, fingers crossed we'll be having a chat to you anyway next time out, obviously for the final round of the season. Max Bird, congratulations on the double podium, and hopefully we'll see you at Donington.
You definitely will.
Good stuff. Max Bird then, yeah, 2 points behind Max Edmondson. Of course, that could change if Edmondson gets the penalty. Now, I think we also agree. Did you do the driver of the day bit there, Jack?
Yeah, to be honest, I completely forgot about that because we were still talking about it slightly. But yes, absolutely, driver of the day to Max Bird as well. Congratulations, Max.
Perfect, thank you.
There we go. Glad he didn't run off after the interview. So, Power Max Valeting kit heading the way of Max Bird. Apologies, everyone. It's been quite the last 25 minutes or so. Quite a lot to wrap our heads around. The last thing we need to wrap our heads around is the fact that Josh Martin was on the podium in that race. Third place finish for Josh in that one. Congratulations, second appearance on the podium this season. It makes up a bit for what wasn't an ideal Silverstone, was it?
No, that's the first round of this series that I've not been worrying about internet problems or had some other technical problem. No, I had good race pace. Qualifying was quite tight actually. I think I was 7th, but there wasn't much of a gap between everyone. It's just trying to get a lap without bouncing. And yeah, the VR didn't fog up, internet didn't drop out, so it was all good. Made it to the end.
It does make it easier when you can see where you're going and everyone else can see where you are on track. I mean, these are the things that can only really affect you in sim racing, not in the real world. But they can be tricky to deal with, I'd imagine.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to worry about your internet dropping out in the real world.
No, exactly. Huge congratulations, though. That podium finish coming at a nice time and sets you up nicely, hopefully, now, if you put on top of all of those tech issues for Donington Park next time out. Is Donington a circuit you're confident in your performance at?
Yeah, I'm all sorted with the tech issues now. The internet's all done. But yeah, Donington's probably my favourite track to drive, and the track I've got the most amount of laps on. So really enjoy it. So looking forward to that one. Hopefully, I'll be right at the front.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Sounds like quite a few drivers looking forward to Donington Park, as are we. Josh, congratulations on the podium finish. We'll see you next week.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Right then, everyone, that is that. That was rounds 9 and 10 of the VRRC Civic Cup. Quite a lot to talk about there, Jack. Some of it more positive than others. What we can tell you is we do not yet have a champion, because Scott Bugner is not far enough ahead in the points to be wrapped to have the title wrapped up. So it will go down to that final round, regardless of what they do with Max Edmondson, because as Jack made the point, Max Bird is only actually 2 points further back from Max Edmondson. The gap between second and third, you can see, remarkably tight. And mathematically, I think I'm right in saying that Joel Lask and Elliot Dalton-Ayres could still take the title as well if Buckner were to have a disappointing time at Donington. And as we saw, Jack, it can happen. Okay, Edmondson wasn't able to take full advantage of it in this race, but Scott Buckner proved tonight that he is not invulnerable, and he will be a little bit nervy, I'm sure, heading to Donington.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that you're consistent. I mean, a lot of people say, and I don't like the saying as a driver, but a lot of people do say, you're only as good as your last race. Now, Bugner will be hoping that that is not true at all, because he's been fantastic in this championship so far. And, you know, but he will be slightly worried. He'll maybe starting to sweat it. He might actually jump on the sim a little bit more to practice, because he had that poor result. And he pretty much can only have one poor result, if that, in a championship and come out on top. So Bugner really needs to make sure he's nice, calm and collected and confident going into Donington Park. But the battle for second heated up as well. And now I'd probably say the battle for fourth, fifth as well. He's still got Eric Axelsson involved, potentially Josh Martin, but it's a bit of a stretch. So really, we're probably going into it thinking Max Edmondson, Max Bird, who's going to get that SimRace 5.
Yeah, certainly wouldn't count Axelsson or Martin out of the fight for fifth, maybe. They could get themselves into the prize-giving positions. And, of course, these could all change if there are post-race judicials, which I think there may be one or two of, perhaps, which we'll try and bring you news of at the start of next week's broadcast. Do head over to the VRRC social media pages and whatnot for all the up-to-date look at what's going on in the world of the VRRC, not just within this championship, but the many other championships that the VRRC run. This is just a small part, Jack, of what the VRRC has to offer. So if you do want to get involved in racing, then this is what you need to do.
Absolutely, yeah. To be honest, I forgot we did this, so this might be a little bit rusty. Forza Horizon 5, obviously there's a lovely little section in our Discord that allows you to sort of basically socialise and chat about Forza Horizon 5, which is always a very good fun for the casual sim racers amongst you. Assetto Corsa, that's what we run our Civic Cup Championship on, that's what we run all our official competitions on, as well as the Fun Cup rounds on a Saturday night even, which I believe at the moment it's a BMW M2. I might be wrong there, I might get told off, but I think it is an M2. And then you've got Assetto Corsa Competizione weekly endurance races. Apparently I'm correct, it is a BMW M2 on the Saturday fun races. You don't need to be a member of VRRC at all. You could just be some random person tuning in for this at this particular point on YouTube and think, you know what, yeah, I'll give it a go. It's a fun, free race with a load of good drivers. I'll enter that one as well. Saturday night, be there or be square. And lastly, Dirt Rally 2.0. Monday to Sunday, we have weekly stages and Rally Cross ran by Dave Marshall. Dirt Rally is his favourite sim to be on, so he always takes extra care of the Dirt Rally service. So by all means, jump into that competition as well. And if you want any information of VRRC, of the sim rigs that we sell, or any of the competitions that we run, or the sims that we run, and then you can head over into our website. That's what I was going to say, YouTube page, but onto the website, which is in the description below, or the Discord, which is also in the description below.
Yes, indeed. So head over to that Discord page for all of the news from this Civic Cup Championship, but also for information, as Jack said, on how to get out there on track or on the rally stages yourself. Right then, that was a dramatic pair of races here at Croft. It sets us up nicely for the championship decider at Donington in a week's time. Make sure to join us there. The Donington Park Circuit, one of my personal favourites in the country. Sounds like lots of the drivers are looking forward to it as well, so I'm sure we're going to have another night of action-packed racing. But for now, though, from myself, Andy McEwen, and Jack Oliphant, and everyone else here at the VRRC, we've enjoyed bringing you the action here from Croft. We're looking forward to doing the same again next week. Hope you'll be there to join us.
Woo!